guys, it's Charlene. I hope you're ready because today we are going to talk about the perfect marriage of two design concepts. What is geometric design? In art, it's lines and curves that create a visually appealing, sometimes almost mathematical design. Lots of repetition, it's very precise, usually angular, and it's very pleasing to look at. Something I think of as almost the opposite is natural design. What is natural design? It is something in art where the elements are inspired by nature. So animals, landscapes, things that are not man-made. You'll find usually soft, rounded lines, but it's also very pleasing to look at. So what happens when you take geometric design and natural design and combine them together? Well, you get the perfect marriage of design for card making. I have 4 card examples to show you today, and I'm going to show you how to use this in your card making. I'm starting here with the Modern Circles Builder Stencil set. So there are 3 different stencils here, and it creates this fun, modern, geometric circle pattern. Perfect for the geometric element in our card. I'm going to start with a half sheet of cardstock and lay over stencil number 1. I'll put this across to make sure all of those circles fit on there. Bring in some ocean waves, and I'm going to go all over these circles. I'm going to do a nice coating, finish the first layer with the ocean waves, bring in my second layer, and I've got mid yellow. Same thing, just going to do an all over and color in all of these quarter circles. Finished with the yellow, it's starting to look really nice. And for our third and final layer, I'm bringing in some sweet leaf, which is a nice pale green going all over. This blue, green, yellow combination is a great combination for masculine cards. Finish the third layer. This looks so modern, but has a retro vibe. It's geometric, love it. For our natural design element, I have the Botanical Line Art die set. It has this outline die and then the main die. I've cut the outline die from black cardstock and then the main portion from white cardstock. So even though this is a natural element, it's still gonna give us this big, bold kind of graphic print almost on the front of our card. So I've added glue to the outline portion, and I'm using my tweezers to hang on to it so that way I can slowly lay it over the top of the main piece. And as I go along, I'm just going to pinch the edges here and there, helping it to slightly line up. You do want to use a liquid glue if you're doing this. It gives you some extra time in order to pinch around those pieces to make sure everything lines up really well. Once everything's adhered, I'm going to put an acrylic block on there, set it to the side, and let that dry. While it dries, I'm going to cut this portion here out for our card front. I love doing a card front like this where you have half of a pattern on one side and then on the other side it's white. I usually do about a 1/3 to a 2/3 ratio actually when I'm doing this. And you can see I have a small strip of black cardstock here. This I'm going to put right along our pattern piece that we created. I'm adding a few dots of glue along the edge there, and then I'm going to butt that small strip of black cardstock right up against it. This is going to follow through and sort of mimic what we have going on with our natural element there. Once I figure out where I want everything to be, I'm going to come in and carefully trim off the side pieces. It's a little easier to do this before you add any kind of foam tape to the back. Trim that off. I'm bringing in some adhesive foam squares for this piece because I find it to be easier when I'm working with a bunch of leaves like this to use squares. So went along, and now I'm going to put this right along my card, but I want to make sure that area I trimmed off is going to line up perfectly. So I'm using my score buddy here, and I can just start on that edge, make sure it lines up nice and perfect, get that nice straight edge, and just lay down the rest of our natural piece there. Now I'll add some glue to the back of our finished piece and put it on my A2 sized card base. I am going to wait on the sentiment for my cards until I have all 4 completed. For my second card, I have the Triangle Madness die set, and that is a beautiful piece of geometric design. There's 3 dies. There's no cutting edge on the outside of these, so you can put them through with whatever size paper you want. I've used some A2 size sheets, and then when they are layered, you can create a bunch of fun different designs depending on how you turn things. So I'm going to layer these up by adding glue in between each of the layers. I used brushed silver metallic, Tide Pool, and then just some plain white cardstock. So added glue to the back of my white piece. Before I lay it down, I am going to make sure it lines up correctly and make sure that the corners line up. Then I can work my way across, putting the piece down as I go, making sure it lines up really well. Now I can add some glue to the back of this piece, and then once I've got the glue on the back of it, again, make sure everything lines up, because you can see here it is not lining up how I want it to. So I'm going to flip the piece around and make sure it is how I want it. And when you're working with a metallic cardstock like this, you are going to want to give your glue some extra time to dry. So once I get this on, I'll make sure the corners all line up, do the same thing, go slowly across the whole thing, and then I'll come in here with an acrylic block over the top. For our natural design element here, I'm bringing in the Bird of the Mountain die set. It's this beautiful, classic, elegant bird. You can see this is a layering die set. So I'm going to cut these out in some coordinating colors. Okay, I've cut everything out here. Now I want to show you this die set does have the keyhole here, and it tells you what numbered layer it is, which makes it really easy to layer them up. So this is number 1. I'm going to take number 2 here and add some glue to the back of it, and this will layer right over the tail. Next, I'm adding some glue to the back of number 3, and this is going to layer up over the top, and it's going to be so that that little keyhole area matches up exactly the same. For layer 4, same thing. It's going right over the little keyhole. And then layer number 5, this is our last layer, and it's going to hide the keyhole. So super easy, layers right over the top. Then we have the eye, the beak, and the feet. For the feet, I'm just going to put them directly over the existing ones. Add some glue to where the beak is going to go. And then when you're working with teeny tiny dies, a wax pickup tool is great to use and place those. Same thing for the eye. I'll add a little bit of glue right in the center where the embossed detail is, and then pick up the piece and place it. It is a little hard to see here on camera, but there is an indentation on there where you could use some white gel pen. I actually decided to bring in a black enamel dot, and I'm just going to put it right over the eye. The enamel dot is going to bring a little bit of dimension and shine to our bird and make it more lifelike. I decided I'm going to back our fun geometric design here on some white cardstock so that we have those white triangles peeking through. So I'll go ahead and add some glue to the back. And what's fun about this is you can do so many different things with this die set. You could make this into a shaker. You could use just one layer. You could use 2 of the layers. Great item to have in your stash for masculine cards. You can see I had foam tape on the back for our little bird there, so I've removed the release tape, and I want his little feet to look like he's on that white angular portion there. So I'll get him nice and lined up and then place him down. And that's going to essentially complete our second card. I'm going to do the sentiments at the end, so stick around to see what I pick. For our next card, I'm using the Sunset Horizon Builder Stencil. This is a 3-piece stencil, and you can use it to create a checker or chessboard. You also can use it to create a lovely sunrise or sunset. Now, this stencil set is awesome because it's actually a really good marriage of geometric design and natural design in one stencil set. So we have that nice angular pattern that I'm going to use the ocean waves on for our chessboard here. And then the mountains are truly a geometric and natural combination because you have the natural mountains, but then you have this nice geometric pattern that runs through them. So I've brought in the next stencil. I'm going to put some masking tape down there at the bottom, and I'm using the same sweet leaf that we used for our first card. Doing it all over on all of these, nothing super fancy. Then you pull it down and you align it right along the top to create your sun. brought back in that mid yellow and doing it all over with that yellow. So here is our finished stenciled image. Next, I'm going to bring in the Perfect Mate stamp set. This is a fun set. You have all of these chess and checker pieces. I'm going to use the King and the Queen silhouette style stamps here. And I have my Stamp Perfect conditioner. This is great for conditioning these silhouette style stamps. I'm going to stamp these out in some jet black fresh dye ink. So I'll go ahead and flip my plate over here and press everything down. Then I can lift that up and do a second stamping. But you can see just even one stamping, it looks really good already. I am cutting these out here with the coordinating dies. I have a black A2 sized piece of cardstock. Add some glue to the back of our prepared stenciled piece, which I cut down, and I'm going to adhere it in the center of our black piece so that I have a nice 1/8 of an inch border going all the way around. Added some foam tape to the back of the King and Queen. I'm going to wait to put those down though until I decide what sentiment I want to use. For card number 4, I have the Midnight Moths stamp set, which is the natural portion of the card. I'm going to stamp these out and I'm going to stamp them on some black cardstock and heat emboss. I stamped these with some clear embossing ink, and I'm going to come back in a second time just to make sure that everything is nice and inked up. So I'll go ahead and flip this over a second time, and it's going to press right back down in the same spot, which is so nice. I'm going to use one of my favorite gold embossing powders. This is an antique gold. It's going to look fabulous, especially because we're going to have the metallic of the embossing powder paired with the natural image of the moths. And you're going to see where I'm going with this as we move along. This is not my normal style of card, but it might actually be one of my favorite cards I've ever made. The end look is really, really cool. So there's that bold, beautiful, bright metallic on the black cardstock. I cut those out with the coordinating dies, and so I'll set these aside. For our background, we're going to create our own geometric element by color blocking. So I have an A2 piece of cardstock. I cut it from corner to corner, and then I turned 1/2 on its side, and I measured it halfway across at 3.5 inches. That is the center of that long line. And so then I cut it from there to the point at the end. And that gives us a nice block piece. I did the same thing with a second piece of A2 sized cardstock in sea glass. So now I am going to take a few of these triangles here, the smaller triangle in the parrot, and I'm going to take this larger triangle here in the sea glass, turn it around, and we're going to get this nice bottom right half of the card in this color block. I've brought in a piece of black cardstock, and you can see where I'm going here now. These are going to meet right up together and create this nice bold geometric pattern on our background. So I'll add some glue to the back of my piece of parrot cardstock and line it up right along the bottom of my A2 black piece. And I'll repeat that this time with the sea glass piece, adding some glue to the back here. And I am going to line that up. Now I do want to make sure that that line is nice and straight right across that point where they both meet, because otherwise it can kind of throw off the design. I've got an additional geometric element here. I am using the Deco Cover Die Set, and I'm going to use the largest one, and I'm going to cut it out of that same brushed metallic cardstock. But before I do that, I'm going to add a piece of double-sided adhesive. That's going to make it super easy to apply to my card. Now I've got some tape here because I want to make sure it cuts out exactly where I want it to cut out. Because this frame is so detailed, I definitely recommend trying to get as many of the little cut out pieces out before you remove it from the die. So I've got it removed. I've got the release paper off of the back, and I'm going to line this up right over the color block piece that we created and slowly press it down over our piece. I've added foam tape to the back of the moths, and I'm going to adhere them down in a straight line. Did you notice the two different metallics that we use? So we have the gold, and then we also have the brushed silver, which is an awesome combination. And now I can tell you I'm going for a steampunk vibe, and I think I nailed it with this one. So for our first card, I turned it into an encouragement card. I did I Think You Are Amazing, and I used the Sunny Sentiments stamp set. Now this goes together with that modern circle set because you have things that you can stamp over the circles. For our second card, I made it a happy birthday card by doing a nice graphic bold black sentiment here from the Sweet Bouquet stamps and dies. My third card, I turned into an anniversary card. I stamped You Are the Queen to My King from that same Perfect Mate stamp set. And then for our fourth card, I used the same Midnight Moths stamp set, and I stamped Hello There, just a tiny sentiment. And I made this a Thinking of You card by using a stamp from that same stamp set on the inside. I really cannot get over how cool this card is. I hope you guys enjoy it. So I am incredibly happy with how all four of these cards turned out. It is such a fun group of masculine style cards, combining those geometric design elements with the natural design elements. All right, guys, I hope you picked up some tips and tricks today. Please be sure to like and subscribe, as well as hit that notification bell so that I can continue to bring you more crafty content in the future. Until next time, happy crafting.